The New York Mets, they keep winning series as they won their fourth straight on Sunday, blanking the A's 8-0 in Sacramento. Let's talk some Mets baseball. We're going to do it with the great Mets content creator, Tyler Ward, who joins me now. Wardy, what's going on?
Dexter, long time no see, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, man. I am good. I know you're happy. Mets four straight series wins. That puts a smile on your face. We see you looking good in the Mets gear, so, it's always good. But let's talk about the Mets. Kodai Senga, dominant in his return on Sunday. 6 1/3 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts. Looked like he was in complete command. What stood out to you most about his performance against the A's? And then how critical is Senga to this rotation moving forward?
Well, let's start from the top, and that's what the immediate reaction is Senga's outing. And that's without question the best starter outing that we've seen from a Mets pitcher so far throughout the first 2.5 weeks of the season, right? Because Senga in his previous outings wasn't bad by any stretch, but we knew he was throwing a couple meatballs for fastball, middle, especially in that first start of the year against Miami. Then he shored things up better. That we saw in his second start, where he really didn't allow any earned runs, but he didn't go beyond five innings or so. And the big question has been, when is a Mets starter going to be able to give the Mets 7 strong innings? And as we saw, he was at 67 pitches through 6, so I was feeling confident. And the 7, he absolutely is masterful. A 1-2-3 inning with a 98-mile-per-hour fastball dotted bottom left corner to end his day. Kodai not only had the fastball working, where the velocity was 2 ticks up higher from his previous start, so that's a great step in the right direction for him. We saw that cutter played so well, especially against right-handers, and we saw that ghost fork that had a lot of swing and miss on some of the key batters, including guys like Brent Rooker, who is still trying to figure out how to hit that pitch. In simple terms, Kodai Senga was not only as advertised, but he looks like the true ace for this Mets starting staff, which is a major deal. And that's why him blossoming like that is without question a massive deal for this rotation, especially with Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas not returning until late May, early June. The Mets need some innings eaters in this rotation, and they really haven't gone in too much length throughout the first 2.5 weeks of the season. To have Kodai do what he did, as comfortable as he did it, that should have every Mets fan excited, to say the least.
Yeah, got to be excited about that. That's something the Mets fan base has been talking about. As you mentioned, when are you going to see some starters go a little bit deeper into the game? They got that on Sunday with Senga. Now, 4 straight series wins for the Mets. Tyler, what do you think has been the biggest key behind this team's turnaround here and sustained success over the last 2 weeks?
Crazy enough, when we look at the Mets start to the season, the great expectation was that their offense would help carry them, that the pitching would be a liability. And lo and behold, it's pretty much the complete opposite, right? Their Mets pitching has carried them every which way for the most part this season, not only on the rotation front, or even guys like Clay Holmes, Griffin Canning, Tyler McGill might not be going beyond five innings or so, but for the most part, they've been rock solid, keeping the Mets in every single ball game. Pair that with a Mets bullpen that's been right towards the top of the list of the best in baseball, outside of teams like the Padres, and that is where they're having their great success. It's certainly on the pitching end, being one of the best overall pitching staffs in baseball throughout the first 2.5 weeks of the season. And pair that then with a Pete Alonso, who still currently leads, if I'm not mistaken, all of the National League, at least in OPS or close to. He's torn the cover off the ball to begin the season. And when guys like Juan Soto, not really getting in his full swing on the power front, has been still a solid plate setter for guys like Alonso, who's driving them in. Lindor is not forgetting how to bat from the left side for the first month and a half, like what we saw last year. So that's been a key part of the Mets' success, with his great homestand that we saw there against the Marlins for the most part. So all in all, yes, we've had offensive output, but it has definitely been carried by this Mets pitching staff so far this season.
No doubt about that. I want to get back to one player on the offensive end, and that's Brett Baty. He has struggled early. His approach at the plate is drawing just, some concern among the Mets fan base. How should the Mets handle his development right now? Is a trip down to AAA on the table, or should they just ride it out, let him get more bats until Jeff McNeil comes back?
This is a big question, right, Dexter? Every fan is pondering what is the right decision versus what is wrong here. And as someone who's constantly flip-flopped, and after seeing Baty do what he did today, making 2 strong defensive plays at the hot corner, his premier position with Vientos, getting that rep there in DH for the series finale in Sacramento, and then a rip a double where he actually lifted and pulled the baseball, what feels like the first time all season long he's done that, for his first triple of the year. As solid of an outing as that was from Brett Baty, I still firmly believe that what's in line next for him is still he needs to earn his keep, meaning that he needs to perform in order to get consistent playing time. Because we're here to talk about Brett Baty, but let's not lose sight of Luis Angel Acuna, who feels like he makes a difference every single time he's out there at the second base position, just like he was for the Mets in this latest game by putting a bunt down and scoring all the way from first as Lindor drove him in. It's the little things on the fundamentals I think Acuna has done so well for the most part all year long, where Baty still has some growing pains that we know and has more work to do. So to answer your question, do I think the Mets should send him down outright right now? Not necessarily, but do I think he will be sent down upon McNeil's arrival over the next week or so? Yes, it's looking like it's going to be in that direction, barring a drastic change in his offensive output where, hey, who knows? A week of baseball, a lot can change.
A lot can change. It can get really hot at the plate, and you never know. You might be thinking about some different options there with Brett Baty. Last thing for me, Wardy, just want to look ahead. The Mets, they have a stretch coming up where they're in Minneapolis to play the Twins, then home for 4 versus St. Louis. What are you most curious to see from the team during this stretch as they try to improve on this 10-5 start?
Definitely need to see the boys actually hit with runners in scoring position, right? Who would have thought that the Mets, even after winning 4 consecutive series, are still leading all the National League in their batting average at worst with runners in scoring position. So the Mets have had their fair share of struggles there. They still left 11 on base in their victory over the A's by a final score of 8-0 at the time of us recording this today. So even with the offense being in their favor, when you look at the final score line, if you understand the context, then you know the Mets have a lot more internal work to do with their quality at bats, especially when we look at guys like Nimmo at a strong series, Vientos continuing to try to get out of his rut, DH between Winker and Marte, and the rest from there. The Mets just need to get more consistency on the offensive output when it matters most. And I would have loved to see Juan Soto finally start to tap into being the Juan Soto that the Mets sign up for. As great as the walks are, you and I both, we want to see more home runs and more gap-to-gap ability from the $765 million man.
Yep, I do want to see that. A lot to watch for the Mets in the upcoming games this week, and that is Tyler Ward. Check him out, his YouTube channel, one of the best Mets content creators out there, doing a great job covering the team. Wardy, I have to mention something about your background right here, something that we love here. We love those New York Post framed Mets backgrounds that you have right there. That's a really good job by you. Great detail in the back. We like that.
It was like I knew ahead of time when I started this a couple years ago that the segments would inevitably come between you and I, Dexter. Well, I'm glad you guys like the setup. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
There we go.
The Post always doing a great job there, especially when the Lindor one dropped. I was so excited. Then Soto dropped. A fun little story about this. The one in the middle, I got myself, but the one on the corner here, the Amazing One, was actually gifted me by a subscriber of mine because they knew that I wasn't able to get that the day it first dropped. So Mets fans are the absolute best, and I appreciate them greatly.
See, I like that. And then the Mets community are looking out for each other, trying to help you. That's what we're supposed to be doing. But we just have to notice that we appreciate what you have up there in the background. Again, subscribe to Tyler Ward and his channel, covering the Mets, doing a great job there. Wardy, we'll talk soon, hopefully down the road, about what else is going on with this Metropolitan team, and hopefully they continue to play some pretty good baseball. Thank you, sir.
You said it best, Dexter. Thank you again, my friend. It means a lot.